They stood in a circle, neighbors, aunties, men with folded arms, women with judgment in their eyes. Some didn't even try to hide their disgust. At the center of it all was Ada, 16 years old, standing barefoot on dry earth with her swollen belly, her school uniform still clinging loosely around her frame. "She has no shame," one voice said. "She's ruined," said another. Her mother, Mama Nkechi, stood a few feet away with eyes red from crying. Her father had refused to come. That morning, he'd thrown her books into fire, one by one. Her notebooks, her science textbooks, even her journal, burned without a word. The smoke still lingered in the kitchen when she walked out. This was not just a bad day. This was the end. At least, that's what everyone thought. They said Ada's life was over. What future could a 16-year-old girl have with a baby in her belly and no husband, no degree, and no job? In this village, once a girl opened her leg before marriage, her story was written, and it always ended in poverty, rejection, and regret. But Ada didn't cry. She didn't plead. She didn't say a word. She only looked straight ahead, her heart pounding louder than the voices around her. Somewhere deep inside her, a different fire had started. And unlike the one that destroyed her books, this one couldn't be put out. Let's rewind. Just 3 months ago, Ada was top of her class. She had dreams, not small ones. She wanted to be a mechanical engineer, not a nurse, not a teacher. A real engineer who could fix planes, build cars, and own factories. People laughed when she said it, but she said it anyway. She would read at night using a kerosene lamp and save money from selling oranges after school to buy old engineering magazines. While her friends were watching TV or scrolling through their phones, Ada was drawing machines in the margins of her books. Then she met Ikenna. He was older, charming, and had just returned from the city. Everyone in the village talked about him. How he wore clean clothes, drove a car, and said words with a city accent. He noticed her one day at the borehole, said she was different, said she was smart, that no girl in the village spoke the way she did. It started with compliments. Then came the gifts, chocolates, a cheap phone, a pair of shoes. He made her feel seen. And when he told her he loved her, she believed him. When he asked her to trust him, she said yes. When he asked her to come with him, she went. By the time she realized what was happening, it was too late. He disappeared one morning. Just like that. No goodbye. No call. Nothing. Just her, standing in front of a mirror, trying to understand why her belly wasn't flat anymore. Her mother cried for days. Her father refused to look at her. The village pastor asked her to come forward and repent. Girls her age crossed the street when they saw her. Her school expelled her quietly. They didn't want bad influence. One night, unable to sleep, she sat outside staring at the stars. She thought about running away, about ending it all, about disappearing forever. But then she remembered something her math teacher once said during a lesson she almost slept through. Life is not fair, but math is. You put in the numbers, you get the result. No magic, just work. And in that moment, it hit her. She couldn't erase her past. But maybe, just maybe, she could still calculate a future. The next day, she asked her mother for her old phone. It barely worked. The screen was cracked and it had no SIM card. But it could connect to the village's weak Wi-Fi if she stood in the right corner of the compound. She began watching videos. How to start a small business with no money. Single teenage moms who made it. Free online courses for beginners. She downloaded a free PDF on how to make liquid soap, then another one on buying and reselling goods. She borrowed 500 Nigerian nairas from her aunt to buy her first batch of ingredients. She made a few bottles, labeled them neatly, and walked door to door selling them. Most people slammed the door. Some laughed in her face. But one woman, an old teacher, bought 2 bottles. Not because I need soap, she said, but because you're trying. That night, Ada made 200 Nigerian nairas profit. It wasn't much, but it was hers, and it was a beginning. In just 1 week, she had sold to 3 more people. In 2 weeks, 10. A month later, she had enough to buy more ingredients in bulk. She didn't stop there. She watched more videos, took notes, practiced how to speak to customers. She learned about branding, about social media, about how to open a business page, even without money. She changed the name on her bottles from Ada's soap to Pure Glow by Ada. She designed a logo using a free app. She posted before and after pictures of people who use her soap. People started noticing. Even girls who once laughed at her began asking questions. Can I selfie in my area? Can I join your team? She had no team. But now maybe she did. But just as things were beginning to look up, a storm came. Her baby was due, and labor wasn't kind. No hospital, no trained nurse, just her mother, a candle, and a bucket of water. She screamed for hours. She passed out twice. But when she woke up, there was a baby boy on her chest. She named him Zion because to her, he was more than a child. He was a symbol that her story wasn't over, that it was just beginning. Chapter 2, the market nobody wanted to enter. The sun was already up when Ada strapped baby Zion to her back, tied her faded wrapper around her waist, and stepped out of the house with a black plastic bag in her hand. Inside were 6 bottles of her homemade soap. She had less than 3,000 Nigerian nairas in her savings. She was tired. Her body still ached from childbirth just 4 weeks earlier. But she knew one thing. Waiting wouldn't change anything. She needed to sell. And today, she wasn't going door to door. She was going to the big market in the next town. Everyone said the same thing about that market. If you don't have a stall, don't bother. They won't even let you inside. It's full of big women and angry traders. It's not safe for girls like you. But Ada was not just any girl now. She was a mother, a provider. She had no time to be scared. The journey took almost 2 hours on foot. She couldn't afford transport, so she walked through muddy footpaths, dodging puddles, holding Zion close each time a car passed. Her legs burned, her back hurt, but she kept moving. When she finally reached the market gates, she paused. The market was buzzing, crowds everywhere, shouting, bargaining, wheelbarrows pushing through narrow paths. The air was thick with the smell of fish, spice, sweat, and fried food. Nobody noticed her. Nobody cared. She squeezed past women selling tomatoes, men with secondhand clothes, and children selling sachets of water. She looked for a corner, anywhere she could stand and display her soap. She found a spot near the entrance to the meat section. It wasn't clean and the smell was strong, but it had one thing others didn't: foot traffic. She laid a piece of cloth on the ground and lined up her 6 bottles. Then she waited. 30 minutes passed. No one stopped. An hour. Still nothing. Then, finally, a woman slowed down. She picked up a bottle. "Is this the one that removes black spots?" she asked. "Yes, Ma," Ada said quickly. "It works very well. Pure natural ingredients. No bleach. I use it myself." The woman nodded. "How much?" "Nigerian Naira 800. Nigerian Naira 500, the woman said. "My Nigerian Naira 500 or nothing." Ada hesitated. 500 Nigerian Nairas was barely profit, but she hadn't eaten. Zion hadn't either. "Okay," she said. The woman paid and walked away. Ada sighed. 1 down. 5 to go. Suddenly, she heard shouting. "Who told you to sell here?" A large woman in a wrapper was walking toward her. She had a measuring tape around her neck and a deep frown on her face. "You want to spoil our business?" Ada stood up quickly. "I'm sorry, Ma." "Where's your market ticket? Did you pay the union?" I don't have one." "Then pack your things and leave." Ada begged. "Please, I just need to sell. I have a baby." The woman waved her off. "That's not my concern. Next time, pay the dues or stay home." Other traders began to join in. Some shook their heads. Others whispered. Ada packed her soaps quickly. Zion began to cry. She turned and walked out of the market, heart pounding, hands shaking. She found a bench outside and sat down. Tears filled her eyes, but she held them back. She had only sold 1 bottle. Just one. Was this the end? Should she just go back home and accept what everyone said? You're finished. You'll never make it. You're a mistake. No, she wasn't going to give up. Not yet. The next day, she went back. But this time, she didn't go inside the market. Instead, she stood by the roadside where buses stopped to pick up passengers. She offered her soap to anyone who made eye contact. Some ignored her. Some laughed. But by noon, she had sold 3 bottles. She used the money to buy food and a small notepad. That night, while Zion slept, she began to write. Where did she sell? What time? Who bought? What type of customer? She tracked everything. And she noticed something. The women who bought the most were young mothers, especially those with babies like hers. She had found her target. By the end of the week, she had sold 20 bottles. By the end of the month, she had 3 girls helping her sell in different areas. She paid them a small commission per bottle. Word was spreading. People started asking, who is this Ada girl? But just when things were picking up, another challenge hit. Her supplier doubled the price of one key ingredient due to a fuel shortage. She couldn't afford it. Her soaps started foaming less. Customers noticed. Some stopped buying. One even returned a bottle and said, this is not what I paid for. Ada felt like quitting, again. But instead of crying, she did what she had done from the beginning. She went online. She typed, alternative ingredients for liquid soap. She found forums, blogs, and YouTube videos. She experimented with local ingredients, plant-based oils, natural extracts. She tested each one. Some failed. Some smelled terrible. But one mix worked. And it worked even better than her original. Not only was it cheaper, but it also gave the soap a softer feel and nicer scent. She rebranded it Pure Glow Premium. Within 3 months, her soaps were selling in 3 towns. She saved enough to print labels, buy better bottles, and rent a small storage space near the village. But people still mocked her. At church, some women whispered when she walked in. In the market, traders still called her the soap girl. Even her uncle once said, small business doesn't build big life. She smiled and said nothing, because she knew something they didn't. She wasn't building a business. She was building a future. One night, as she walked home with Zion on her back, a woman in a car stopped beside her. You're Ada, right? The one with the soap? Yes, Ma. I saw your brand on Facebook. My cousin used it. Can you supply 50 bottles for my store in Owerri? Ada blinked. Yes, Ma. I can. Good. I'll pay up front. Send me your account details. The car drove off. Ada stood there for a moment. 50 bottles. She had never made that much at once before. She looked at Zion, still asleep. Then she looked at the stars and whispered, we're not stopping. Chapter 3. One Phone, One Dream. The old phone had cracks across the screen like spiderwebs. The power button worked only if you press it twice. And the battery could barely last an hour unless you turned the brightness all the way down. But to Ada, that phone was gold. It was her toolbox, her classroom, her shop, and her window to the world. She called it her office. The day after she received the Owerri order for 50 bottles, she didn't sleep. Zion kept waking up crying. Her body was tired, but her mind was racing. She had never made that much soap at once. She didn't even have enough containers, or ingredients, or manpower, but she had the order, and the woman had sent 40,000 Nigerian nairas up front. That money was more than she had ever held in her life. Ada didn't rush to spend it. She wrote down a list of what she needed: bottles, labels, ingredients, gloves, containers, buckets. She made another list: how many people she would need to help mix and package the soaps. Then she used her old phone to go online. She searched for local suppliers. She compared prices. She watched videos on how to scale production. The next day, she borrowed a neighbor's bicycle and rode to the next town to buy bottles in bulk. She carried them back 2 at a time. She turned her mother's small backyard kitchen into a mini soap factory. She called the girls who used to help her sell. I'll pay you 500 Nigerian nairas each if you help me produce and package soaps for 2 days, she said. They came, all 5 of them. For the first time, she was a boss. She organized the work into stations. One group mixed the ingredients. One group poured into bottles. One group labeled. One group cleaned and packed. It was hard work. Hot, sweaty, and messy. But by the second evening, the 50 bottles were ready. Ada cleaned each one herself. She packed them in cartons she got from provision store, tied them with rope, and labeled them with a delivery address. She called the woman, in Owerri. "Ma, the soaps are ready." The woman laughed. "So fast." Ada smiled. "Yes, Ma. I'm sending them first thing in the morning." She paid a bus driver who took goods to city. As the cartons disappeared into the bus, Ada felt something strange. She was nervous. What if the woman hated the product? What if the soaps leaked? What if the labels peeled off? All night, she couldn't sleep. But by 10 a.m. the next morning, her phone rang. It was the woman. "Ada," she said, "this is excellent. The packaging is neat. The scent is perfect. Can you supply every 2 weeks?" Ada's mouth dropped open. "Yes, Ma," she said, almost whispering. "Good. I'll add your brand to my store shelf. People will love it." That was the beginning of something new. Word spread. One store became 2. 2 became 5. Ada was still living in a small village, still using a phone with a cracked screen. But now, her soaps were in 5 cities. And that was when she made a big decision. She told herself, "I will never sell soap in the street again." Not because she was ashamed, but because she wanted to scale up. She wanted to move online. She went back to her phone and typed, "How to grow a business on social media." She watched videos on how to take good product photos, how to create simple ads, how to use WhatsApp Business, how to post consistently. She created a business Instagram page at Pure Glow by Ada. She didn't know anyone famous. She had no money for influencers, but she had 2 things: consistency and storytelling. She began posting every day. She posted pictures of the soaps, pictures of the process, pictures of her with Zion, mixing ingredients, packing bottles. She shared her story in bits. "I started this business with 500 Nigerian nairas. I'm a teenage mom, not a failure. Every bottle supports my baby's future." People started following, not just to buy, but to encourage her. Women sent DMs like, "You inspire me. I was ashamed to start small. Not anymore. Please teach me how you did it." One day, she posted a video. It was short, less than a minute. In it, she held Zion and said, "They said I was finished, that I threw my life away. But today, I run a business that feeds 6 families. My name is Ada, and I make soap that changes skin and stories." The video went viral. Hundreds of shares, thousands of views. Her follower count jumped. Orders poured in from Lagos, Abuja, Benin, and Enugu. She had to pause orders for a week just to catch up. That night, as she checked messages on her phone, the screen went black. The phone refused to come back on. It was dead. She held it in her hand and sighed. Then she smiled, because that old phone had taken her from nothing to nationwide. The next morning, she bought a new one. Not the most expensive, but clean, fast, reliable. She opened it and downloaded everything again. Instagram, WhatsApp Business, Canva for designs, Google Sheets for tracking sales. She transferred all her product photos and customer contacts. And then she looked at Zion, now crawling on the floor, and whispered, "From this phone will touch the world." A few days later, she received a message that would change everything. It was from a woman named Chioma. She had over 200,000 followers and ran a YouTube channel on African women entrepreneurs. She said, "I heard your story from a friend. I'd love to feature you on my show. I'll come to your village myself if I have to." Ada stared at the message. This was not a scam. This was real. The episode was filmed under the mango tree, the same one where they had once shamed her. She told her story, holding Zion in her lap. She didn't hide anything. Not the pregnancy, not the rejection, not the struggle. She ended with, "Every girl deserves a second chance. I got mine through a small bottle of soap. What can you start with today?" The video hit 1 million views in 2 weeks. Emails came in from NGOs, women's groups, and investors. A soap company in Ghana reached out for partnership. A Nigerian entrepreneur offered to mentor her, and a woman in Dubai offered to help export her products. It all started with one phone, a cracked screen, a 500 Nigerian Naira's idea, and an unshakable dream. Chapter 4. The day her father spoke again. The sun had just started to rise when Ada heard a knock at the front door. It was soft, hesitant, like the hand behind it wasn't sure it should be knocking at all. She wasn't expecting anyone. Still wearing her wrapper, she walked to the door, baby Zion on her hip, and opened it slowly. There he was, her father. For 2 years, he hadn't said a word to her, not after the pregnancy, not after she dropped out of school, not when she started selling soap. He acted like she didn't exist, like her presence was a stain on the family. Even when she passed him on the road, he looked away. Now here he was, standing in the doorway, eyes tired, shoulders lower than usual, holding a plastic bag with something wrapped inside. "Good morning, Papa," she said quietly. He cleared his throat, didn't answer right away. I came to return this," he finally said. He opened the bag. Inside was her old school certificate, the one he tore into pieces and threw in the trash the day he found out she was pregnant. Except it wasn't torn anymore. He had taped it together, piece by piece. Ada froze. Her hand gripped Zion a little tighter. Her throat felt dry. "I thought it was over for you," he said. "I thought you had destroyed everything." He looked at the floor. "I didn't see what you were trying to build. I just saw the shame." Ada didn't speak. She didn't know what to say. He continued, "But last night, the pastor showed me your video, the one on YouTube." He paused. "I saw how you built your business. I saw how people now respect you. And I realized you did more with your pain than most people do with their opportunities." He looked her in the eye now. "I'm sorry, Ada. I was wrong." Ada didn't cry, but her heart felt like someone had squeezed it hard. Her father, the man who once said she was dead to him, was now standing in front of her, with her certificate in one hand and respect in the other. "Come in, Papa," she said, stepping aside. He walked in slowly, sat on the edge of a plastic chair in the small parlor. The walls were still bare. The fan didn't work properly, but something felt different. He looked around. "You've done well," he said, nodding. Ada brought him a cup of water. Zion, curious, reached for his shirt. Her father looked at the boy and touched his tiny hand. "He looks like you," he said with a faint smile. Strong eyes, stubborn face. Ada chuckled softly. "He's already trying to talk," she said, always shouting. Like his mother. They both laughed. For the first time in 2 years, they shared a real moment, a moment of peace. That night, after he left, Ada sat outside under the stars. She looked at the certificate he had returned. The tape lines were still visible. It would never be perfect again, but it was whole, just like her life. It had cracks, but it had come back together. The next morning, something strange happened. Her father returned. But this time, he wasn't alone. He brought 2 men from the village council. They said they wanted to talk. "We know you started this business from nothing," one said. "We saw the video. We're proud of you, and we're sorry for the way the village treated you." Ada looked at them in silence. They continued. "We want you to speak to the girls in our secondary school next week, to tell them your story, to show them that mistakes don't end a life. They can build it." Ada nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll do it." The day she stood in front of that school, everything felt surreal. Just 3 years ago, she had walked out of that gate in shame. Her uniform still on, her belly already growing. Now she was standing before a room full of girls, teachers, and elders as a guest speaker. She took the mic. She didn't start with business tips or motivational quotes. She started with the truth. 3 years ago, I was sitting where you are now. I had dreams, but I made a mistake. I trusted the wrong person. I got pregnant, and everybody turned their back on me, even my own family. But I didn't die. I didn't beg. I didn't steal. I started small. with just 500 Nigerian nairas. And today, I run a brand that ships to 5 cities. You may never get pregnant at 16, but life will knock you down in some way. And when it does, don't stay down. Get up, build something. Even if all you have is a cracked phone and a crying baby. The applause didn't stop. Some girls cried. Some teachers took notes. Even the principal asked for a copy of her speech. But what mattered most was when, after the event, one young girl walked up to her. She couldn't have been older than 15. She had tears in her eyes and whispered, "I'm pregnant too." Ada didn't flinch. She hugged the girl tight and said, "It's not over, not even close." After the speech, Ada walked home with Zion on her back and a small smile on her face. The same villagers who once whispered behind her back now greeted her with respect. Ada, the businesswoman, the woman who turned soap into gold. Even Mama Chinyu, who once told her mother to lock the girl inside, now asked for soap for her granddaughter's rashes. Ada sold it to her at full price. No discounts. Later that week, her father visited again, not to talk this time, but to sit with Zion and watch him crawl across the room. As he laughed at the baby's little legs, Ada made a quiet promise to herself. "I will build something so big, this entire village will have no choice but to remember my name." And she meant it. Chapter 5, A Deal Too Good to Be True. Ada had never received a message like this before. It was a Monday morning. Zion was playing with a plastic spoon on the floor, and Ada was reviewing orders on her new phone when she saw the notification. From Golden Horizons Ventures. She opened it quickly. It read, "Dear Ms. Ada, we are a Nigeria-American investment company currently supporting rising small businesses in Africa. We came across your story on YouTube and social media. Your growth is impressive, and we believe you have what it takes to scale globally. We would like to discuss a possible investment and partnership opportunity with you." Her hands froze. Investment? Partnership? This had never happened before. For a moment, she stared at the screen, unsure if it was real. She checked the email again. The domain looked legit. The grammar was clean. The sender had a real name, with a profile photo that matched the company's website. Her heart began to race. She had heard stories of business owners who got discovered, partnered with big firms, and became millionaires overnight. Could this be her moment? Could everything she had struggled through finally be leading here? She called her friend Kayamika, one of the girls who helped her sell soap in the early days. "I just got an email from an American company," Ada said, trying to stay calm. "They say they want to invest." Kayamika screamed on the other end. "Ha! Ada, this is it. Oh, it's your time." Ada smiled. She wanted to believe that too. Later that afternoon, they scheduled a video meeting. Ada didn't have a laptop, but she used her phone. She sat under the mango tree, the one that had witnessed her worst day, and joined the video call with shaky hands. The screen lit up. A man in a suit appeared. He looked foreign, maybe mixed race. He smiled warmly. "Ada, it's a pleasure to meet you. We followed your story and are inspired by what you've built from nothing." Ada nodded, her voice low. "Thank you, sir. We think Pure Glow has potential, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. We're looking for passionate entrepreneurs like you, people we can back, people we can build with." Ada blinked. He continued, "We're ready to offer you an investment of 20 million Nigerian nairas. In exchange, we take a 35% stake in your company. We'll also help you register Pure Glow internationally, expand into skincare products, and enter the export market." 20 million. She repeated the number in her mind over and over. She had started with 500 Nigerian nairas. Now, someone was offering 20 million Nigerian nairas? It sounded like a dream. Too good, in fact. But Ada was no longer the naive girl who followed Ikenna with stars in her eyes. Life had taught her the hard way. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. She smiled at the man and said, "Sir, thank you. I appreciate this. But can I have some time to think about it?" "Of course," he said, still smiling. "Take your time. But not too long. Offers like this don't stay open forever." As soon as the call ended, Ada called her old math teacher, Mr. Okoro. He had once taught her budgeting back in school and now volunteered at a small business center in the city. He answered on the second ring. "Sir," she said, "someone wants to invest in my business, but I don't understand all the terms. Can I come see you?" "Come tomorrow," he said, "and bring everything they sent you." The next day, Ada and Zion boarded a bus to the city. It was hot, bumpy, and full, but she held her papers tightly. Mr. Okoro welcomed her with a hug. He read the contract line by line, scribbling notes on a pad. When he was done, he looked at her with serious eyes. "Ada, this is not a good deal," he said. She felt her heart sink. But they said, "Yes." They said all the right things. "That's how they get you. But look here." He pointed to a paragraph. "They want 35% of your business. That's too much for a first investment." He turned the page. "And here, they want control of your branding and product formula. That means you won't own your soap anymore. Even if they leave tomorrow, they can keep producing your product and sell it without you." Ada stared at the page. Her stomach twisted. She had almost signed it. She had almost given away her dream. "All that glitters isn't gold," Mr. Okoro said gently. "Your brand is young but strong. Don't rush. Keep building. Better offers will come." Ada returned home quietly. No music, no excitement, just relief and gratitude. She sent the company a simple email. "Thank you for your time, but I have decided not to move forward with the partnership at this time." They didn't reply. A week later, she posted a video on her page titled, "Why I Said No to 20 Million Nigerian Nairas." In it, she explained everything. The offer, the contract, the trap. She didn't mention the company name, but she warned other small business owners. Don't rush into deals because of big numbers. Own your brand. Ask questions. Protect your future. The video went viral again. This time, even lawyers, bankers, and business experts shared it. One comment stood out. "Smart girl." Many would have sold their birthright for coins. But she saw the trick. Days later, Ada got another message. This time, from a woman named Funmi Lawal, a respected business coach and founder of one of the top women-led venture capital firms in Africa. Her message was short. "I saw your video. I like how you think. Let's talk. No pressure, just conversation." Ada smiled. This felt different. Not flashy, not rushed, just respectful, like someone who saw her as a partner, not a project. That night, Ada sat outside and looked at Zion. He was learning how to walk, wobbling, falling, standing again, just like her. She whispered to him, "We'll only say yes to what grows us, Zion, not what traps us, no matter how shiny it looks." Chapter 6. Building a Factory with Empty Pockets. By now, Ada's business had grown beyond what the village could handle. Orders were coming in from 5 states. She had 15 girls on her team, all working from her mother's backyard. There were buckets stacked on each other, bottles lining the fence, and labels drying on the floor. The space wasn't just too small, it was dangerous. Hot oil chemicals, babies running around, noise, flies. One day, a neighbor shouted, "Are you cooking soup or making bomb? This your soap business is smelling all over the compound." Ada laughed politely, but she knew they were right. She needed a real factory, not a big one, just a proper workspace, with tables, equipment, a water source, shelves, storage, safety. But there was a problem. Money. Everything she earned was tied up in production, salaries, packaging, and delivery. She had a little savings, but not enough to build anything solid. Still, she believed she always had. One morning, she walked to a piece of land on the edge of the village. It belonged to her late uncle. It was bushy and overgrown, but the location was perfect. Quiet, close to the main road, and easy to access. She found her aunt, the uncle's widow, and asked if she could rent the land for a small monthly fee. The woman looked her up and down. "For that soap business?" "Yes, Ma." She nodded slowly. "If you can clear it, it's yours. I'll give you the first 6 months free, but after that, I'll need payment." Ada thanked her, holding back tears. She called her team together. They brought machetes. They cleared the bush. They burnt the grass. They dug the soil. And little by little, the land became clean. The next problem was structure. Ada didn't have 1 million Nigerian nairas for blocks and cement. So she did what she always did. She used what she had. They bought long sticks from the market, rented aluminum sheets, used old wood to make tables. She paid 2 local carpenters to help. One of them was blind in one eye. The other didn't speak much. But they worked fast. In 7 days, the frame of her first mini factory stood tall. By the second week, it had a door, 2 small windows, and a signboard above the entrance. Pure Glow Production Hub, from the village to the world. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. But it was hers. On the day they moved in, her team clapped and danced. They played loud music from a speaker. One girl cried and said, "Ada, I never believed I'd have a real job in my own village." Another said, "Before I met you, I was selling groundnuts on the road. Now I send my younger sister to school." Ada stood in the doorway and smiled. Then she walked inside and said, "Let's work." Everything wasn't smooth, though. 2 weeks after opening, the factory roof leaked during a storm. Water poured in and destroyed 20 bottles of soap. Then the power went out for 4 days, ruining a batch that needed to stay cool. Ada used a portion of her savings to buy a small generator. When that broke down, she rented another one. Then the local health officer came to inspect the factory. He frowned the entire time, wrote notes, and said, "You need proper ventilation and safety certification." Ada nodded. She didn't argue. After he left, she opened her phone and searched how to meet health production standards in Nigeria. She studied everything, registered the business, took a short online course in hygiene, bought gloves, hairnets, and a first aid box. When the health officer returned 2 months later, he smiled and said, "This place is cleaner than most places I inspect in the city." But the real surprise came when a truck pulled up in front of the factory one morning. Ada wasn't expecting any delivery. The driver jumped out and said, "Are you Ada?" "Yes." "This is for you." He handed her a small envelope and opened the truck's rear door. Inside were 5 large industrial mixing drums for tables, 2 fans, and 12 cartons of bottles. She opened the letter. It was from Funmi Lawal, the investor who had messaged her after the viral video. The note said, "No contracts, no ownership, just support. You inspire more people than you know. This is a gift. Keep building." Funmi. Ada stood frozen. Her workers stared at her. One whispered, "Is this real?" Another said, "People in Lagos are watching us." Ada wiped her eyes and nodded. "Let's unload. We have work to do." That day, they produced more soap than ever before. 2 girls began packaging facial scrubs, a new product they were testing. Another group worked on liquid detergent. Ada stood at the center of it all, clipboard in hand, giving directions. For the first time, she felt like a CEO. Not just a girl with a baby and a dream, but a builder, a leader, a factory owner. And just as things were settling, just as everything was finally stable, just as Ada thought she had full control of her life again, a shadow from her past appeared. A man at the factory gate, tall, confident, smiling. It was Ikenna, Zion's father. After nearly 3 years, he was back. Chapter 7, The Man Who Walked Away. He was taller than she remembered, taller, darker, and dressed like he'd just stepped out of a Lagos billboard. Clean sneakers, new jeans, designer shirt, a gold chain that glinted in the sun. He stood at the entrance of the Pure Glow factory like he belonged there. Ada froze. Her staff stopped working. One of the girls whispered, "Who is that fine man?" Another whispered, "He looks familiar." Only Ada knew the truth. It was Ikenna, the man who had disappeared without a word. The man who left her pregnant at 16. The man who never called, never wrote, never even asked if she or the baby had survived. And now, after nearly 3 years, here he was, smiling. "Ada," he said. His voice hadn't changed. Smooth, deep, The kind that once made her feel seen. Now it made her skin crawl. She didn't speak. She didn't move. Just stared. "I heard about you," he continued. "I saw your video online. I couldn't believe it at first. The Ada I knew running a whole factory?" Still, she said nothing. Zion peeked from behind her leg, holding a plastic bottle. Ikenna's eyes locked on the boy. His smile faded. "That's him," he asked softly. Ada raised her chin slightly. "You didn't come and ask that 3 years ago." "I know," he said. "I made mistakes." She laughed bitterly. "Mistakes? You vanished. I was scared. You were selfish." Her workers stood nearby, watching silently. Ada turned to them. "Take Zion inside." Kayamika picked up the boy and disappeared into the building. Now it was just the two of them, Ada and Ikenna, the past and the present, face to face. "I'm not here to fight," Ikenna said. "I came to make things right." Ada folded her arms. "And how exactly do you plan to do that?" "I want to be in his life. I want to help. I have a good job now. I'm doing well." She narrowed her eyes. "Oh, now that I've built something, you suddenly remember you're a father? That's not fair." "Fair," she snapped. "Was it fair when I sat in that clinic alone, in pain, bleeding, while you were in Lagos showing off your shoes and chasing dreams?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. She continued. "Do you know how many nights I cried, not for myself, but because I couldn't afford baby wipes? Do you know I sold soap barefoot on the street while carrying your son on my back?" "Ada, no, you don't get to say my name like that anymore." He paused, then reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "I brought this," he said. "It's 1 million Nigerian nairas. I know it's not much, but it's a start." Ada stared at the envelope. So this was it, the plot twist. The man who abandoned her was now offering money. But she didn't want his money. She wanted her peace, her silence, her freedom. "Take your money," she said coldly. "Give it to the next girl you run from." His face tightened. "Ada, I'm trying. Don't punish me forever." "I'm not punishing you," she said. "I'm protecting what I built." She took a step forward. "You want to see Zion? You want to be in his life?" "Yes," he said. "Then go to court," she replied. Ikenna blinked. "Court? Yes. Let the law decide. Let a judge hear how you disappeared. Let a court decide if you're ready. I won't stop you. But I won't open my doors just because you suddenly found your way back." Silence. Then he nodded slowly. "Okay, if that's what it takes." He turned and walked away. No more swagger. No more charm. Just a man realizing that the girl he abandoned had become a woman he couldn't control. That night, Ada sat outside, holding Zion. She told him, "A man showed up today, one who looks like you." Zion stared at her, innocent and calm. "He said he wants to be your father," she whispered. "But he missed a chance to be your dad." She kissed his forehead. "You already have everything you need." The next week, Ada met with a lawyer in the city. She filed a legal document. Parental visitation must be earned, not assumed. She wasn't closing the door, but she wasn't leaving it wide open either. Not for someone who only returned because she had something to lose. Later that month, a journalist from a national newspaper came to write about Pure Glow. They titled the article, "From Abandoned Teen Mom to Factory Boss. Meet Ada, the village billionaire in the making." And tucked in one corner of the page was a small caption. She built her empire without him. Now he's asking to be let in. Chapter 8. The threat behind the lawsuit. Ada sat across from the lawyer, her arms folded. "So," she said carefully, "you're telling me he actually filed for joint custody?" The lawyer nodded. "Yes, he's asking for visitation rights and partial custody. It's official now. The case will be heard in family court in 6 weeks." Ada blinked. She had expected Ikenna to show some interest, maybe ask to visit, maybe drop in occasionally. But to go straight to court? "I don't understand," she said. "Where is this energy coming from?" The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "That's what I wanted to show you." He pushed a folder across the table. Inside was a printed screenshot, a post from Ikenna's social media account. The caption read, "Proud of my son, Zion. His mother and I are working things out. Watch out for our family brand soon. Ada stared at the image. He had posted a photo, not of Zion, but of himself standing in front of the Pure Glow factory gate. Her factory, her brand, her story. And now he was telling the world they were a team. She felt heat rise in her chest. This is madness. The lawyer spoke calmly. He's trying to attach himself to your success. You're not just a person anymore. Ada, you're a brand, a business, a public figure. And unfortunately, that makes you a target. Ada leaned back slowly. So this wasn't about Zion. This wasn't about being a father. This was about positioning. Image, money, public attention. Back at the factory, the workers noticed Ada's mood shift. She stopped smiling as much. She paced more. She answered questions with short nods. Zion clung to her more than usual. He could feel the tension, too. Kayamika pulled her aside one afternoon. Ada, what's wrong? Ada sighed. I can't have filed for custody. Kayamika gasped. After all these years? He posted online, acting like we're a family brand. Kayamika shook her head. This man is mad. Ada nodded. He's not here for Zion. He's here for exposure. Maybe even for money. The next day, Ada received an unexpected email. It was from a brand agency in Lagos. They were interested in working with her on a mother and son skincare campaign. The email said, "We saw your viral story. We love the narrative, especially the father reuniting with his family. We think there's strong media potential here." Ada slammed her laptop shut. They didn't care about the truth. They cared about optics, the idea of a happy family, the cute kid, the brave young mother, and now the reformed father. It made for a perfect PR story, except it was all a lie. She held a staff meeting that evening. Everyone sat in plastic chairs inside the factory. "I want to be clear," Ada said. "Pure Glow was built from scratch. We didn't come from love. We came from survival, from pain, from grit. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The girls nodded. "We don't need pity," Ada continued. "And we don't need fake heroes pretending they were part of this journey." They clapped for her. But even with their support, Ada knew something bigger was coming. This wasn't just personal now. It was legal. And legal battles cost money. That night, she got a call from her friend in Lagos, Temi, the one who first helped her register the business. Temi said, "Babe, I don't want to scare you, but Ken has been talking to investors." "What?" "Apparently he's pitching a skincare brand. Says it's inspired by his journey as a father reconnecting with his son. He's even using your factory photos in his pitch deck." Ada stood in silence. "He's trying to steal your story, Ada," Temi said. "You need to fight smart, not just emotionally." The next morning, Ada went back to the lawyer. "I want to trademark everything," she said. "The brand, not just the brand. The logo, the story, even Zion's image. He's a minor. I need it all protected." The lawyer smiled. "Now you're thinking like a billionaire." In the weeks that followed, Ada worked harder than ever. She started a YouTube channel called Pure Glow Diaries. She told the real story, episode by episode. No filter, no fantasy, just facts. The pain, the pregnancy, the soap making, the factory, the betrayal. Her subscribers grew fast. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The comments were full of support. "Keep going, Ada. Protect your son. Don't let him rewrite your journey." Then, something unexpected happened. One morning, Zion was watching cartoons on her phone. Suddenly, he said, "Mummy, that's me." Ada turned to look. A YouTube ad was playing. A skincare advert featuring a child who looked almost exactly like Zion, but it wasn't him. And at the end of the ad, Ikena's face appeared. He had created a fake narrative, a fake family, and he was using a child actor to play Zion. That was the final straw. Ada returned to the lawyer's office with fire in her eyes. "Can I sue him for using a fake version of my son in ads?" "Yes," the lawyer said. "You can sue him for defamation, misrepresentation, false advertising, and emotional distress." "Let's do it," Ada said. He wants attention, she added. Let's give him a courtroom stage. And just like that, the woman who once begged him for help now dragged him to court with full force, not to punish him, but to protect what she had built, to protect the son he abandoned, to protect the truth. Chapter 9, Courtroom Chaos. The courtroom was hot, crowded, tense. Reporters squeezed into back row. Some had cameras hidden in bags. Others scribbled notes furiously. Ada stood tall in a navy blue suit. Simple, clean, no jewelry. Just her. Beside her stood her lawyer, calm, focused, holding a thick folder of evidence. Across the room, Ikenna sat with his lawyer. His hair was slicked back. He wore a loud blazer with shiny buttons, trying too hard to look important. He smiled like a man who thought the cameras were there for him. Ada didn't smile back. The judge walked in. Everyone stood. Then the hearing began. Ikenna's lawyer started first. He painted Ikenna as a remorseful young man who made mistakes but wanted to reconnect with his child. He said, "My client only wants a relationship with his son. He has a right to it." He showed screenshot of Ikenna's social media. Pictures of Zion, posts about fatherhood, captions like, "A second chance at love." Ada stayed quiet. Then her lawyer stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. He simply placed 3 things on the judge's desk. A timeline of Ada's pregnancy and Ikenna's total absence. No visits, no calls, no support. A printed copy of Ikenna's ad using a fake child. Screenshots of Ikenna pitching a fake skincare company based on Ada's brand. Then he spoke one sentence. "This is not a father seeking connection. This is a man seeking profit." The room went silent. Ikenna tried to interrupt. "That's not true. I love my son." The judge banged the gavel. "You will wait your turn to speak." Ada watched him squirm. He wasn't used to being told to wait, especially not by a woman. The judge asked Ada, "Do you wish to say anything?" She stood, looked directly at Ikenna, and said, "You abandoned me. You disappeared. But I built something, not just for myself, but for my son. And now that it's working, you want to take a piece of it. But you didn't earn this. You don't get to rewrite history." Then she sat down. The judge took a deep breath and made his ruling. Ikenna would not receive joint custody. He would be allowed limited supervised visits, once a month, inside the presence of a child psychologist. He was barred from using Zion's name or image for any business or social media post. He was to issue a public apology or face a defamation lawsuit. The courtroom buzzed. Ada felt her shoulders relax. It was over. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded her. "Ada, how do you feel about the ruling? Do you still want Ikenna in your son's life? Will you be suing him further?" She looked into the cameras and said, "Let this be a warning. If you didn't help build the house, don't try to claim the keys when it's finished." Later that night, she told Zion a bedtime story about a lioness who built her kingdom while others watched from the trees. And when they came down to steal it, she roared louder than ever. Zion fell asleep smiling. And Ada? She didn't sleep. She was already planning her next move. Because she knew now, her enemies weren't just in her past. They were watching her rise, hoping to grab on. But they had no idea what she was about to do next. Chapter 10, The Man Who Returned the Money. The sun was hot that afternoon. Ada was heading to a customer's house to deliver a large consignment of Pure Glow products. She carried a handbag on one shoulder and a box of neatly packed soap bars in her hands. Her driver had broken down halfway, and she didn't want to waste time, so she continued the rest of the way on foot, walking along the dusty road that led to the far end of the village. She didn't notice that her purse had slightly opened, and she definitely didn't notice when a bundle of cash fell out. 50,000 Nigerian nairas in crisp new notes. But someone else noticed. A man on a bicycle. His shirt was faded, and his slippers were nearly worn through. His hands were rough with calluses, the kind of hands that told stories of hard labor. He saw the money drop just as she crossed a pothole. He stopped his bicycle, looked at the money, then looked at the woman walking ahead. He had every reason to take it. No one else saw. and 50,000 Nigerian nairas could feed his family for 2 weeks. But he didn't even hesitate. He picked it up, turned the bike around, and pedaled after her. Auntie, sorry. Ada turned confused. The man slowed to a stop beside her, breathing hard. He extended the cash to her. This fell from your bag. I think you were in a hurry. Ada looked down. She gasped, "Oh my God, that's 50,000 Nigerian nairas." She quickly checked her bag. The zipper had come loose. The man smiled, wiping sweat from his face. "I saw it fall. I just thought I should give it back." Ada stared at him. People didn't do this, especially not here, especially not with that much money. "What's your name?" she asked. "Emeka," he replied, still catching his breath. "Do you live nearby?" He nodded. "Over there." He pointed at a small corner, near a group of huts. "I work odd jobs. Construction, farming, anything that brings food." Ada was quiet. Then she reached into her purse and handed him a bar of Pure Glow's best soap. He hesitated. "No, I didn't do it for a reward." She smiled. "It's not a reward. It's a gift. Just take it." He took it slowly, admiring the packaging. "You made this?" She nodded. "Yes, from scratch." "You're the lady on the posters?" "I am." He looked impressed, but not starstruck. There was something calming about his presence. No desperation, no performance, just honesty. And in a world full of people trying to use her, Emeka stood out. Over the next few weeks, Ada couldn't stop thinking about him. One day, she passed by his area again. She saw him building a small poultry pen for a woman in the neighborhood. She waited until he was done, then waved. "You again," he said, laughing. "I'm making a delivery nearby." Ada replied, "Want to walk with me for a bit?" He nodded, dusting his trousers. They walked, talked. He told her about his younger siblings, his late mother, his dream of opening a small farm-to-market business, but no money, no tools, no land. Ada told him about Zion, about how hard things used to be, about how Pure Glow started with just one bar of soap and a dream. They laughed, they walked, they connected. Days turned into weeks, and soon, Emeka became a regular part of Ada's world. Not in a flashy, romantic way, but in small things. Fixing a broken chair in her office, bringing her roasted corn when she worked late, helping Zion with his homework, standing beside her during village meetings when others tried to talk down to her. He didn't try to be the center of attention. He just showed up, every time. Kayamika noticed first. "You smile differently these days," she said, raising an eyebrow. Ada tried to brush it off. "It's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. It was peace. After years of struggle, after betrayal, after court cases and fake apologies, this one man, with no money and no agenda, brought her something she hadn't felt in years. Safety. One night, they sat outside the factory, watching the stars. Zion was asleep inside. Ada asked, "Why did you return that money that day?" Emeka shrugged. "My mother always said, if it's not yours, don't keep it, even if no one's watching." Ada looked at him. "I've had a lot of people lie to me," she said quietly. He nodded. "I'm not perfect, but I don't lie." They sat in silence for a while. Then Ada leaned her head gently on his shoulder. No words, just stars, night air, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, love had found her again. Chapter 11. The Funeral of a Father. The phone rang at 5:23 a.m. Ada was already awake, sitting by her bedside, working on her inventory list for next week's shipment. Zion was still asleep, curled up with his teddy bear. The whole village was silent. Then the call came. She answered. It was her mother. Her voice shook. "Ada, it's your father." Ada froze. "What happened?" He didn't wake up. The words sank in slowly, like sand through water. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. She just sat there, eyes wide, mouth open, staring into space. Later that morning, she arrived at the family house. The compound was already full. Neighbors, distant relatives, old friends who hadn't been seen in years. Some people were crying. Others were whispering. Ada pushed through the crowd and found her mother sitting on the floor, surrounded by women. Her wrapper was loose, her hair uncovered, her eyes swollen from crying. Ada knelt beside her. "I'm sorry, Mama." Her mother grabbed her hand and sobbed harder. Her father's body was inside the room, still, cold, wrapped in white cloth. He looked peaceful, almost like he was just sleeping. But he wasn't. Memories flooded back. Him carrying her on his back during market days. Him shouting when she first told him she was pregnant. Him refusing to speak to her for weeks. And then slowly, quietly, accepting Zion into the house when no one else would. He wasn't perfect. He was stubborn, harsh, proud, but he never abandoned her, even when the world laughed at her, even when the church whispered behind their backs, even when relatives said, "You should throw her out." He stayed. He protected her. The funeral happened 3 days later. It was quick, quiet, traditional. The village elders spoke about his work as a teacher, his loyalty to his land, his firm discipline. But Ada remembered something else. She remembered the day she came home after her first big order. She had 500,000 Nigerian nairas in a nylon bag. Her father saw it and said, "Are you selling drugs?" She laughed. "No, Papa. Soap." He stared at her for a moment, then nodded once and walked away. Later that night, he left a new pair of shoes by her door. No words, just an unspoken gesture. It was his way of saying, "I'm proud." During the burial, Ada didn't cry loudly. She just stood beside his grave, holding Zion's hand. She whispered, "I hope you see us now." Zion looked up. "Where did Grandpa go?" She knelt beside him. "To a place where good people rest," she said softly. "Is he coming back?" Ada's voice cracked. "No, baby, but we'll remember him forever." Zion nodded, then touched a small flower and placed it on the fresh soil. That night, Ada sat alone by the window of her old room. She hadn't stayed there in months. Everything still looked the same. Her father's walking stick leaned against the wall. His Bible was open to Psalms. She saw a note tucked inside the page. It was in her father's handwriting. "Lord, protect Ada. Make her stronger than I ever was. Make her light shine in this dark world." She covered her mouth with her hand and cried quietly. This was the man who once told her she had shamed the family. This was the same man who secretly prayed for her every night. The next day, after the burial dust settled, Ada called Emeka. "Can you meet me at the hilltop?" she asked. He didn't ask questions. He just came. They sat together, looking over the village. The wind was gentle. The sky was soft with clouds. "I don't know how to do this without him," Ada said. "You don't have to do it alone," Emeka replied. She turned to look at him. He wasn't a replacement. He wasn't there to fill her father's shoes. But in that moment, he was exactly who she needed beside her. Steady, present, real. Later, Zion ran up the hill, holding a picture of his grandfather. "Mummy, look what I found." It was a photo from her 18th birthday, the only one where her father smiled. Ada took it, held it to her chest, and said softly, "I'll hang this in the factory." Because every brick she laid, every bar of soap she sold, every fight she won, was partly because he didn't give up on her. She was no longer just a girl who got pregnant at 16. She was a businesswoman, a mother, a fighter, and now a daughter in mourning. But she was also rising. And soon, nothing in the village would ever be the same again. Chapter 12. The land dispute that could destroy everything. The dust hadn't even settled from her father's funeral when the problem began. It started with a knock on the gate. One of the factory workers, Tund, ran to Ada's office. "Auntie Ada," he said, breathing heavily. "Some men are outside. They say they're from the land authority. They have papers." Ada paused her typing. "Papers? What kind of papers?" "They said this land is not your own, that it belongs to someone else." She stood up immediately. When Ada got outside, 3 men stood near the gate holding a rolled-up document. One of them wore dark sunglasses. Another had a measuring tape around his neck. The third one, clearly the leader, wore a faded suit and had a brown leather folder in his hand. "We're here on official duty," he said flatly. "We've received a complaint that this land was illegally acquired. We need to see the documents proving your ownership." Ada narrowed her eyes. "This land was bought legally. My father helped me secure it before we even laid the first block. I have the receipts." "Then you won't mind showing them to us." Ada turned and stormed back into the office. In her drawer was a metal file cabinet. She opened it, flipped through files marked property documents, and found a land agreement. It was signed, dated, and stamped with the Village Development Council seal. She returned outside and handed it to the men. The man in the faded suit looked through the pages, then smirked. "This is signed by your father." "Yes." "Well, your father is dead." Ada's heart dropped. "What does that have to do with anything?" He pulled out another document from his folder. "This is a new claim. Someone has come forward saying the land was originally theirs, that your father took it unfairly years ago." Ada's mouth fell open. "That's a lie." "That may be, but the council will have to investigate. And while they do, you must stop all operations." Tun gasped. Ada took a step forward. "This is sabotage." The man shrugged. "We just follow orders. You'll receive a summons." Then they walked away, leaving dust behind. By that afternoon, work at the factory was suspended. Her workers sat around, confused. Deliveries were halted. Supplies were stuck. Some customers called angrily, wondering why their orders were delayed. And Ada? She sat at her desk, her hands in her hair, thinking over and over, who would do this to me? Kayamika came in with 2 cups of tea. "Drink something. You haven't eaten." "I'm not hungry." Kayamika sat down. "This is an attack. Someone's trying to bring you down." Ada nodded slowly. "But who?" Then it hit her. She remembered the man who tried to buy the land last year. Mr. Dyke. He was rich, connected. He offered to buy her factory for triple its value, saying he wanted to build a fuel station there. Ada refused. He didn't take it well. Now, she had a strong feeling he was behind this. Later that evening, Emika came by. She told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "You need a lawyer, a real one." "I already have one. But this might go deeper than law. This is influence." Emika leaned forward. "Then fight with more than documents. Fight with people." "What do you mean?" "Let the village speak for you. Everyone knows what you built here. The youth you employ, the mothers you support. If they silence you, they silence the entire community." Ada blinked. He was right. The next morning, Ada called for a village town hall meeting. The message went out fast. By afternoon, the town square was full. Mothers, fathers, youths, farmers, market women, taxi drivers. Even the chief's son showed up. Ada stood on a wooden platform and faced the crowd. "Someone is trying to take this land away from me," she said loudly. "But this land is not just mine. It belongs to all of us." People murmured in agreement. "Who employs over 40 young people here?" "You do," someone shouted. "Who supports our widows with free skincare products?" "You do." "Who sends our daughters to school with her scholarships?" "You do." Ada raised her voice. "So if they come for me, they come for us all." Cheers erupted. People clapped. Some even cried. She didn't plan it, but her pain had turned into power. Within a week, a petition was signed by over 300 villagers. They marched to the council building. TV cameras arrived. Social media picked up the story. Billionaire woman entrepreneur being targeted by land mafia in rural town. By the end of that week, the council invited Ada to defend her ownership, with a panel of elders now involved. In the meeting, she showed every receipt, every document, every proof of tax. And finally, she handed in a video her father had recorded 3 years ago, thanking the original seller for granting the land to his daughter. It sealed the case. The panel ruled in her favor. Mr. Dyke's silent claim was exposed. And Pure Glow reopened, stronger than ever. Back at the factory, her workers hugged her. Zion ran into her arms. Emika stood by the gate, smiling proudly. Ada looked around at the land, her land, and whispered, "No one's taking this from me, not while I'm still breathing." But deep in the shadows of politics and business, another person was watching, someone even more powerful than Mr. Dyke, someone who had their own plans for Ada, and they had just begun. Chapter 13, The Secret Buyer. It had been 2 weeks since Ada won the land case. Her factory was buzzing again, soap production in full swing, staff back on their feet, and bulk orders streaming in from Abuja and Lagos. Ada was focused, stronger than ever. But something strange happened one morning. Kayamika rushed into her office, holding a printed email with shaking hands. "Ada, you need to see this." The email was short. Subject: acquisition interest. "We are interested in acquiring full ownership of Pure Glow Naturals. Offer 2 billion Nigerian nairas for 100% of operations, assets, branding, and land. Kindly respond for further negotiation. CB Holdings Ltd." Ada stared at the page in silence. 2 billion naira. She blinked twice. "Is this real?" Kayamika nodded. "I thought it was spam, but the email domain is legit. CB Holdings is real. Registered. Powerful. They even have international investors." Ada leaned back in her chair. Her entire journey flashed before her, from making soap in plastic buckets to employing over 40 staff in a clean factory. Now someone wanted to buy it all? Later that afternoon, a phone call came in. A man introduced himself as Mr. Kenneth, a representative of CB Holdings. "We admire your work, Miss Ada. Few companies in rural areas scale like yours. We believe your brand has the potential to go national, even international, with the right leadership and financial muscle." Ada raised her eyebrow. "So you want to buy my company and run it without me?" "No," he said smoothly. "We want to build with you or without you, but you'll walk away very wealthy either way." She felt a chill. It sounded more like a threat than an offer. That evening, she called Emeka. They sat under the mango tree beside her compound, the same place he once handed her the money she dropped on her delivery run. "I don't trust it," she said. "You shouldn't," Emeka replied. "People don't offer 2 billion Nigerian nairas for no reason. They're after more than just soap." Ada thought for a moment, then said, "I need to know who owns CB Holdings." The next day, she reached out to an old contact, Ngozi, a classmate from business school, now working in Lagos as a corporate researcher. "Ngozi," she said on the phone, "I need to know who's behind a company called CB Holdings." Quietly, Ngozi agreed and promised to call her back. When the call finally came through, her voice was sharp. "Ada, sit down." "What is it?" "The company is a front. A shell. For who?" There was a pause. Then one word. "Ikenna." Ada froze. "What?" "Yes. He owns it. He's listed as a silent investor. He created CB Holdings last year. He's using it to quietly acquire businesses, especially yours." The room spun. Ikenna, the man who walked out of her life without a word, the man who never came to see his son, the man who reappeared months ago with empty apologies and flashy clothes. He wasn't done. He wanted more. He wanted everything. The next day, a letter was hand-delivered to her office. Ada opened it carefully. Her name was written in bold cursive on the envelope. Inside was a single-page letter. "Ada, I know this is a surprise, but I want to do things the right way. You didn't give me a chance when I came to see you. You were angry. I understand. I deserved it. But this company you've built, it's special. I know what it's worth. I want to help take it to the next level. Let's partner. Let's expand. Let's give Zion the future he deserves. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to consider the future." Ikenna. Ada read the letter twice. Then a third time. She walked outside, tore into pieces, and tossed them into the compound bin. She watched the wind scatter the scraps like ash. Then she whispered, "You left me when I was nothing. You don't get to claim me now that I'm something." But she knew this wasn't the end. Ikenna wasn't done. He had money now, power, and he still wanted a piece of what he didn't build. The question was, what would he try next? And was Ada ready for it? Chapter 14. The Trap and the Contract. Ada had seen many things in her life. Poverty, betrayal, shame, but nothing prepared her for this. The day after she tore up Ikena's letter, Mr. Kenneth called again. His tone was calm, polite, but something in his voice felt colder now. "Miss Ada," he said, "we understand your decision, but our client is not someone who likes being ignored. I suggest you read the contract we sent this morning. Carefully." Click. Ada rushed her email. Sure enough, there it was, an attached PDF titled Pure Glow Acquisition Agreement. She opened it, page after page of legal words. Buried on page 18 was a clause that made her blood run cold. Should the owner decline to sell, CB Holdings reserves the right to challenge land ownership and patents filed under the name Pure Glow Naturals on the basis of overlapping claims by initial intellectual property partners. Ada stood up. Her heart pounded. She dialed Ngozi immediately. "Check this. What does this mean?" Ngozi read it, then sighed. "He's using your past against you. Remember when you first registered Pure Glow? You didn't have all the documents in your name. You were underage. You needed someone of legal age to sign as co-owner." Ada froze. It was Ikena. Back then, she trusted him. He had signed the form as a silent partner. She didn't even think twice. Now he was using it to threaten her. That evening, Emeka found her sitting behind the factory in the dark, staring at the sky. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, sitting beside her. "I have," Ada replied. "He's trying to steal my company." She told him everything. Emeka listened silently. When she finished, he said, "What will you do?" Ada looked at him, eyes fierce. "I will fight, but not like last time. I need knowledge. I need to understand contracts, law, business structures. I need to be smarter than him." Emeka nodded. "Whatever you need, I'll help." The next morning, Ada called a lawyer in Lagos. She booked a consultation, packed her bag, and took the next bus to the city. The moment she entered the lawyer's office, she handed him the contract. He read it quietly, then looked up. "He has no case if you can prove that the signature was a favor, not a partnership. Do you have proof?" Ada paused, then smiled. "Yes, a voice note from 3 years ago." She pulled out her old phone. It still worked. She scrolled through save files. Then she played it. Ikena's voice. "Don't worry, Ada. I'll sign it for you. I don't even need anything in return. It's your business, not mine." The lawyer grinned. "That, my dear, is your bulletproof vest." Back in the village, Ada called Mr. Kenneth. Her voice was calm. "Tell your client to come clean, or I will." Mr. Kenneth chuckled. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm protecting what I built. And if you send me another contract, I'll take your company to court for harassment." She hung up, then turned off her phone. She was done playing games. But deep inside, she knew she wasn't done learning. She needed to grow, to evolve, and the idea had already taken root in her heart. It's time to go back to school. Chapter 15. The Road to Unilag. Ada stood in front of the gate of the University of Lagos, her small suitcase in one hand. Zion strapped her back, and her admission letter folded in her pocket. She had finally done it. This wasn't just about school. It was war preparation. If Ikena and the world of business were going to throw contracts and clauses at her, she would be ready next time. Inside, the campus buzzed with life. Students everywhere. Taxis honking. Traders calling out their wares. She felt small, but also, for the first time in years, she felt young again. Her course was business administration. The classes were intense, the lectures firm. But Ada soaked it all in like dry earth meeting rain. She kept Pure Glow running from a distance. Emeka and Ngozi helped. But she wanted more than survival. She wanted scale, growth, power. She didn't just want to be successful. She wanted to be unstoppable. Then one day, during a group project in the library, she met Michael. He wasn't loud or flashy, just calm, intelligent, with kind eyes behind round glasses and a laptop that always seemed open. He was in his final year, computer science. She noticed how he listened more than he spoke, and when he finally did talk, it was always something sharp, useful. During a long night of working on their group presentation, Michael finally asked, "So, Ada, what's your story?" She smiled. "It's long. I have time." So she told him about Pure Glow, the start, the shame, the rejection, the comeback. She didn't mention Ikena. "Not yet." Michael didn't interrupt. He just nodded. Then he said, "Wait, your business isn't online?" "Not really. We just take orders on WhatsApp." Michael blinked. "You're sitting on gold." That weekend, he came to her hostel with his laptop. They bought a domain name, pureglownaturals.com. He set up a simple website. Clean, easy to navigate. Ada's products were finally online. Then he taught her how to use email marketing, Instagram ads, Facebook targeting, online payment systems, customer databases. Sales tripled in 2 weeks, then quadrupled. People in Abuja, Port Harcourt, even Ghana started placing orders. Michael became her closest friend, then something more. He played with Zion like a brother. He'd pick him up from creche when Ada had lectures. He fixed her broken phone screen without being asked. One night, in the shade of the campus mango tree, Ada asked him, "Why are you helping me so much?" He smiled. "Because you're the most determined person I've ever met, and I believe in you." Her heart softened, and for the first time since Ikena, she allowed herself to feel safe with man. They became a team in business and in life. But after her second semester, Ada got a call from the village. Her mother didn't say much, just 5 words. "Emeka has had a baby." Ada sat in silence. "When?" she finally asked. "Last month, with one of the factory girls." Ada's chest tightened. She thanked her mother, ended the call, and sat still for a long time. Michael found her there later, eyes distant. She told him. He nodded slowly. "What will you do?" Ada sighed. "I can't go back. Not now." She returned to the village the following weekend, alone. When she saw Emeka, he looked down in shame. "I wanted to tell you, Ada," he said. "I was lonely. I didn't think you were coming back." She nodded. "I understand." But that night, she packed up Zion and her stock samples. She hugged her mother. "I love you, Mama, but I have to build elsewhere." She left the next morning with 2 big bags, a child, and a burning new plan. "I will expand in Lagos, then Abuja. I will build Pure Glow into something bigger than any betrayal." And so, Ada returned to Lagos, not as a student, not as a victim, but as a visionary. She wasn't running away. She was scaling up. Chapter 16, The Abuja Vision. The road to Abuja was long, dusty, and unfamiliar, but Ada's mind was clear. She had one goal, expansion. Zion sat beside her in the bus, asleep with his head on her lap. Ada looked out the window at the passing towns, the open lands, the newness of it all. Lagos had taught her how to fight smart, but Abuja would be the place where she built her empire. She had rented a small room in Nyanya, one of the cheaper suburbs, using the little savings left after tuition and logistics. It wasn't much, just a bed, a plastic chair, and a fan that hummed like it was tired. But it was hers. The first few days were slow. No customers, no familiar faces. She stood under the hot sun, handing out flyers. She visited salons, spas, supermarkets, any place that sold skin or hair products. Most people weren't interested, but one woman was. Her name was Mrs. Halima, owner of a high-end spa in Woods. She had a commanding voice, long lashes, and rings on every finger. "You say you made these creams yourself?" she asked, holding up the Pure Glow sample. "Yes, Ma. All organic. No bleaching agents. We focus on skin health, not skin color." Halima rubbed some on her hand, raised an eyebrow, then said, "Come to my spa next week. If my customers like it, I'll buy in bulk." Ada smiled. "Thank you, Ma." She walked out of that spa with hope in her chest and tears in her eyes. That night, Michael called. "I've set up your Abuja store page on the site. You can start taking orders for this region." Ada exhaled. Michael, thank you. You don't have to thank me. You just have to keep winning. She laughed softly. You're crazy. I'm crazy about you, he replied. And just like that, her heart softened again. The week flew by. Ada spent nights hand-mixing products, labeling jars, cleaning bottles, and rehearsing her pitch for Halima's spa customers. Zion stayed with a neighbor while she worked. On Friday, she arrived early, dressed in her best shirt, hair tied back, bag full of products. Customers trickled in. She watched as Halima handed them samples. Some sniffed, some rubbed, some smiled. One woman frowned. Another clapped her hands and said, "This smells like heaven." By the end of the day, Halima walked up to her. "We'll start with 50 bottles, 10 of each type. Can you deliver by Monday?" Ada blinked. "Yes, Ma, I can." When she got home, she dropped to her knees. Tears fell freely, not from sadness, but from relief, from pride. She was making it, but growth came with pressure. Ada worked until midnight every day. Her hands ached. Zion cried sometimes because she didn't have enough time to play with him. Orders began to pour in through the website, from Lagos, from Abuja, even from people abroad. Michael helped handle online operations. He even hired 2 students to manage the digital storefront, while Ada focused on production and delivery. One night, while on a video call, he said, "Ada, we need a proper structure. Employees, inventory management, maybe even a small office." Ada nodded. "I know, but funds. I'll help you build a pitch deck. There are women-led startup grants you can apply for." So they did, and 3 weeks later, Pure Glow was shortlisted for a business grant worth 5 million naira. The final stage was a pitch presentation in front of investors. Ada had never stood in front of such a crowd before. She wore a borrowed suit, trembling hands holding the microphone. But when she spoke, her voice didn't shake. She told them her story. The pregnancy at 16, the shame, the rejection, the small factory, the threats, the fight back, the expansion. She ended with, "Pure Glow is not just a skincare brand. It's proof that broken girls can build beautiful things." The room went silent. Then came thunderous applause. 2 weeks later, she got the email. "Congratulations. You've been selected for the Women Rise grant." Ada screamed. Zion screamed too, even though he didn't know why. With the grant money, she rented a small office in Was 2, bought equipment, hired 2 assistants, registered Pure Glow officially with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Pure Glow Abuja was born. Michael flew in for the opening. He hugged her tightly, whispering, "I told you, you were made for this." That night, as they sat on the balcony eating suya and sipping malt, Ada looked at the stars. "I never thought I'd get here," she said. "You haven't even started," Michael replied. She smiled. "You think so?" "I know so." And in that moment, for the first time in years, Ada felt at peace. But deep down, she knew life wasn't done testing her. She had climbed far, but the mountain was still high. And the higher you climb, the stronger the winds. Chapter 18. The Betrayal in the Books. Ada hadn't planned on returning to the village so soon. But after weeks of late nights in Lagos and dealing with the storm Ikena stirred, she felt something tugging at her heart. Home. She missed the calm, the smell of early morning rain, the laughter of her old staff, and the quiet strength of her roots. So, on a sunny Friday morning, she boarded a bus to the village, her heart light for the first time in a while. She was excited to surprise everyone at the factory. She didn't call ahead. She wanted to walk through the gates and see the shock on their faces. She wanted to feel home again. But what she found was something else entirely. The Pure Glow building was louder than she remembered. Music blared from a small speaker in the corner. 2 girls she didn't recognize were sitting on the front steps, eating roasted corn and laughing like they were at a party. Ada frowned. She pushed the door open. Inside, 3 of her workers, her original staff, were quietly packaging soap bars in the corner. They looked exhausted, overworked, but that wasn't what caught her attention. It was Emeka. He stood by the office door, talking loudly to one of the new girls. His shirt was unbuttoned halfway. His belt buckle glinted in the light. He looked careless. He looked like someone enjoying too much of what he didn't earn. Ada's footsteps echoed. The workers looked up and froze. "Madam, Ada," Ngozi gasped. Emeka turned. His face went pale. "Ada, I didn't know you were coming back today." "I didn't tell anyone," she replied calmly. But inside, her stomach churned. She walked straight to the small back office. It looked different. There were fast food wrappers on the desk, a strong smell of perfume, a red pair of high heels on the table. Ada's jaw tightened. She turned to Emeka. "Where's the expense record?" "Expense record?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes, the one you're supposed to update weekly. The one you promised to send every Monday, but stopped sending 4 weeks ago." Emeka scratched his head. I've been very busy. I was going to." "Show me." They sat in silence as Ada opened the laptop and went through the records. At first, it looked normal, but then she saw it. Large cash withdrawals. Every other day. Clothing. Bars. Restaurants. One payment to a hotel for 85,000 Nigerian nairas. "Who approved this?" she asked. Emeka didn't answer. She opened the CCTV folder. The footage from inside the factory was still being recorded. She clicked through. There he was, Emeka, flirting with the new girls, walking in late, laughing while others worked. She pressed play on a video from 3 nights ago. It showed Emeka bringing in 2 women after hours, opening a bottle of wine, and toasting like he owned the place. Ada stood up. She didn't speak. She simply walked out to the main floor. Everyone had stopped working. They sensed something was wrong. Ada raised her voice, not in anger, but with power. "I left this company in the hands of someone I trusted, someone I believed would protect it like I would, but I was wrong." She looked at Emeka, who had followed her out, face now pale. "You've been stealing, misusing the company's money, and you've been disrespecting everything we built here." "Ada, wait." "You're fired." The words cut the air like a knife. The factory went dead silent. Even the corn girl outside stopped laughing. Emeka took a step forward. "Please listen. No, you don't betray someone who fed you when you were hungry. You don't betray your people." He didn't argue again. He just turned and walked away. Ada stood there, watching him disappear down the road, the same one where he once returned her missing money. How quickly things change. That evening, she gathered the staff. They sat on old plastic chairs in a circle. She apologized for being away too long. She asked for forgiveness for trusting the wrong person. Then she told them the truth. "We are not going to let this destroy us. Pure Glow is still standing because of you, because of your hard work. And from today, we build again together." The staff clapped. Ngozi hugged her tightly. "We missed you, madam." Ada smiled. "I missed you too." Later that night, in her small bedroom at her family's house, Ada sat by the window and stared at the moon. She thought of Emeka, of Michael, of Ikenna, of everything she had survived. She wasn't a teenage girl anymore. She was a woman, a mother, a fighter, and most of all, a builder. She picked up her phone and called Michael. "How soon can we get the Abuja branch ready?" He laughed. "You serious?" "As serious as a woman who's done being quiet." "Then give me a week," he said. "No," she smiled. "Give me 3 days." Chapter 19, Abuja Rising. 3 days. That was all Ada gave Michael. And in just 3 days, everything changed. By the time the sun rose on the 4th morning, Ada was on a bus heading to Abuja, the city of power, politics, and possibilities. She sat by the window, her eyes wide open, not because she couldn't sleep, but because her heart wouldn't let her. It was pounding with hope, with determination, with the kind of fire that only comes after betrayal. She had been stepped on, laughed at, abandoned. Now, she was expanding, not just her business, but her life. Michael was waiting for her at the park. He had already secured a small but clean shop space and was one of Abuja's busy areas. Not too expensive, not too cheap, just right for a new branch. He handed Ada the keys. "No time to waste," he said. The landlord gave us 1 week free. After that, rent starts counting. Ada smiled. 1 week is more than enough. They spent the rest of that day sweeping, scrubbing, cleaning, and painting the walls. The space was small, just enough for a counter, some shelves, and a little office in the back. But to Ada, it looked like a palace. By the second day, her Pure Glow products were already on the shelf. Soaps, creams, black soap jars labeled with her name and logo, now redesigned by Michael for a more modern, elegant look. Ada stared at them and smiled. Every jar was a reminder of pain, of growth, of survival. She posted the photos on her Instagram and Facebook pages. Within 24 hours, people started calling. Some were from Abuja, some were from other cities. Some were old customers who had been following her journey from the beginning. Wow, Ada, you've opened a branch in Abuja? Big moves. This is inspiring. I'm in Guarimpa. Can I stop by? Your products are the only thing that help my skin. Thank you for not giving up. Ada read the comments one by one, her eyes misty. Then she turned to Michael. I think we need more stock. By the third day, orders were already coming in faster than expected. Michael helped her set up a basic online order form. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. People could now place orders online and either pick them up or get them delivered. Ada spent the whole afternoon packing orders with a small team of 2 girls she hired locally. She trained them herself, how to label, how to pack, how to speak to customers. I don't care if you went to school or not, she told them. What matters here is honesty, hard work, and respect. If you can do those 3 things, you will grow. They nodded eagerly. To them, Ada wasn't just a boss. She was a sister, a role model, a living example that your past doesn't have to decide your future. That evening, Michael took Ada out for suya and soft drinks at a small joint near their shop. They sat on plastic chairs, legs stretched, enjoying the cool Abuja breeze. Michael looked at her. You've changed. Ada raised an eyebrow. How? You're stronger now, but quieter, too, like someone who has seen too much but still chooses to build. Ada smiled. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to create, build things that outlive me. Michael nodded. You're doing that already. They sat in silence for a while. Then Ada asked, why did you help me from the start? Michael shrugged. Because you remind me of my mother. She was like you. She built a food business from nothing. People stole from her. Men used her. But she kept going until she died. Ada reached out and touched his hand. I'm sorry. It's okay, he said. But when I saw you, I felt like maybe I could help someone finish what my mother started. Ada didn't say anything. She just looked at him, her eyes soft. Maybe, just maybe, there was something more between them. But that would wait. Right now, she had a business to run. By the end of the week, they had made enough money to pay the next month's rent. Ada stood in the shop that Sunday night, lights off, just staring at the shelves. She thought of where she started, a single bar of soap, sold from her backyard. Now, a new branch in the capital city. She pulled out her notebook and wrote 3 words at the top of a fresh page. Next stop, the world. Ada had always believed that pain had a pattern. First came the silence, then the cracking, then the fall. But nothing could have prepared her for the news she got that morning. She had barely spent 2 weeks in Lagos after leaving the village. Her new life was slowly beginning to take shape. Lectures during the day, business calls in the evening, Michael beside her helping her turn Pure Glow into a national brand. And then her phone rang. It was her mother, crying, Ada, come home. Mama, what happened? It's Zion. He fainted this morning. Ada's blood froze. Mama, what are you saying? Where is he now? He's in the hospital. He hasn't woken up. The next few hours were a blur. Ada boarded the first available bus, shaking the whole ride. Michael offered come with her, but she said no. I need to do this alone. When she arrived at the hospital in their town, her mother was sitting outside the ward with swollen eyes. Ada rushed past her into the room. There he was, Zion, her little boy, lying still, so still. a tiny oxygen mask on his face, tubes everywhere. His small hand curled beside him like he was trying to hold on to something. Ada fell to her knees beside the bed. "Zion, it's me. It's Mummy. Please wake up." She took his hand. It was cold. The doctor came in later with a file and a tired expression. "Are you the mother?" "Yes." "What's wrong with my son?" The doctor sat down. "We've done some scans. He has a condition, sickle cell anemia. It was dormant, but the stress, the weather, possibly even poor nutrition some months ago, it triggered a crisis." Ada blinked. "Sickle cell? But I didn't know. Nobody told me." The doctor nodded. "It happens. If both parents carry the trait, the child has a chance of being SS." Ada covered her mouth with her hand. "I kenna." She had no idea he was as. She had never even thought to ask. She looked at her son. Now he was paying the price. For the next 3 days, Ada didn't leave the hospital. She barely ate. She barely slept. Her mother sat with her every night, holding her when she cried. Michael sent money for the hospital bills, but Ada hardly touched her phone. Everything else had stopped. Business, school, dreams. Nothing else mattered now. On the 3rd night, Zion woke up, weak, but awake. He looked at Ada and smiled faintly. "Mummy," Ada broke down in tears. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." But the doctor had one more warning. "He'll recover for now, but this won't be the last crisis. You need to monitor him carefully. Good food, no stress, and regular medical checkups." Ada nodded, wiping her tears. She had almost lost him, and the guilt crushed her. She blamed herself for leaving the village, blamed herself for trusting Emeka to take care of him, blamed herself for being so focused on growth that she didn't see what was slipping through the cracks. That night, she sat by Zion's bedside, holding his little hand as he slept, and she whispered to him, "I'm sorry. I thought I was building a better life for you. But I see now, nothing is worth it if you're not okay. I promise, from now on you come first." She looked out the window at the dark sky. For the first time in a long time, Ada felt lost again. But she wasn't weak. She just needed to find a new path, one that didn't cost her the people she loved. Chapter 20, Blood and Business. The morning after Zion woke up, Ada sat outside the hospital ward with a notebook in her lap, and tears dried on her cheeks. She had made up her mind. Zion would never suffer again because of her choices. She would build Pure Glow back up, but this time it would be a business that worked for her son, not against him. That meant structure. That meant systems. That meant stepping up. She called Michael. He picked on the first ring. "Ada, I need your help," she said. "I want to automate everything. I want to build the kind of business I can run from anywhere, even from a hospital bed if I have to." Michael didn't hesitate. "Tell me what you need. I'm with you." Over the next few days, Michael worked from Lagos, redesigning Pure Glow's website and integrating inventory and delivery systems. He also created an internal dashboard for Ada, one that let her see everything from sales numbers to delivery times from her phone. Ada, in turn, stayed by Zion's side. Every time he smiled at her, she remembered why she started everything. At night, after Zion slept, she joined Michael on video calls. She learned how to manage customer data, how to track orders, how to build systems that didn't rely on her being physically present. She was exhausted, but she was growing. And Zion? He was getting stronger. 1 week later, they were discharged from the hospital. Ada took her son home and immediately hired a private nurse. She also found a nutritionist who specialized in children with sickle cell. Her mother was amazed. "Where did you learn all this?" "Life," Ada said, "and pain." Meanwhile, Emeka had disappeared. No calls, no visits, no apologies. Ada didn't chase him. She had no time for betrayal. What hurt the most wasn't the money he stole. It was the trust he broke. But even that pain was fuel now. By the second week, Ada was back in Lagos. She split her time between campus, business strategy calls, and weekend visits to her village. Michael was always close. not just as a business partner, but as a friend. Someone who understood her silences. Someone who made her laugh even when she wanted to cry. Late one night, as they finalized a new digital campaign for Pure Glow, Michael looked at her and said, "You know, you're the strongest person I've ever met." Ada looked away, tears quietly forming. "I don't feel strong." "That's exactly why you are." Pure Glow's numbers started rising. Orders from Lagos doubled, then tripled. The Abuja market opened up. Michael helped her pitch to 2 online retailers. Both signed up to stock Pure Glow. She was back on her feet. But this time, she wasn't running alone. She had Michael. She had her mother. She had Zion. She had herself. One night, she wrote in her journal, "My blood built this business. But now, it must also protect the ones I love. If pain built me, love will carry me." She closed the journal. She looked at her sleeping son, and she smiled. The fight wasn't over. But this time, she was ready. Chapter 21. The letter Emeka left behind. The letter was wedged between the old Bible and a rusted torchlight in Ada's drawer, the one Emeka always used when the lights went out. She wasn't even looking for it. She had come back home from Lagos for the weekend to see Zion and her mother. The house was quiet. Zion was napping, and her mother had gone to the market. Ada opened the drawer, looking for a charger. That's when she saw it, folded neatly, torn slightly at the edge, her name written in capital letters. "Ada." Her heart paused. She sat on the edge of the bed and unfolded it with trembling hands. "Ada, by the time you find this, I'm probably long gone. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I failed you. I failed Zion. I failed everything we built together. The truth is, I didn't plan to steal. I just didn't know how to be second. You were rising so fast, and I felt small, useless, less of a man. The money, it started with small withdrawals, to impress people, to prove I was still something. Then it got out of hand. I couldn't stop, and by the time I realized it, I was drowning. When Zion fell sick, and I saw you rush him to the hospital alone, I couldn't face you. I couldn't face myself. I'm sorry, Ada, truly, but you were always stronger than me, always better. And I hope one day, Zion will know that his mother was a warrior. Don't look for me. Don't forgive me. Just live." Emeka. Ada didn't cry. Not immediately. She folded the letter back, placed it in a small box, and locked it away. Then she walked outside and stared at the farmland beyond their compound, the place she used to dream about escaping. She whispered to the wind, "I forgive you, but I won't forget." Later that evening, she took Zion on a walk through the village. Everyone greeted her with smiles. Children waved. Some of the older women whispered, "She's the one who came back rich." Others said, "That's the girl who used to hawk soap. See her now." But Ada didn't feel rich. She felt heavy, because now she knew not every betrayal needed confrontation. Some just needed closure. That night, she texted Michael, "ADA, do you still think I'm strong?" Michael, "Yes, even more now." She smiled. Then she closed her eyes and slept for the first time in weeks without anger in her chest. Chapter 23. The mansion on the hill. It was her mother's idea to go see the land. "Just come and look," Mama said. "I know you're busy, but this one is different." Ada had been juggling Lagos meetings, new warehouse expansions, and endless interviews. But when Mama asked, Ada always listened. They drove up a winding hill road just on the edge of the village. The air smelled like fresh rain, and the bird song filled the quiet. When they reached the top, Ada stepped out of the car, looked around, and gasped. The land stretched wide, flat, peaceful green, the kind of place where one could breathe. She turned to Mama. "We'll build it here." Mama blinked. "Build what?" "Our home. Yours." The mansion took 6 months to build. Ada hired local workers, brought in Lagos engineers, and told Michael she didn't want anything loud or flashy. Just peace, comfort, and dignity. When it was finished, the cream-colored building stood like a gentle crown on the hill. There were wide windows, a veranda wrapped around the sides, solar panels, a borehole, and a garden Mama could tend to. Inside, everything was soft, warm, and simple. Mama wept the first time she stepped in. "I never dreamed I'd live in a house like this," she said, her voice shaking. Ada hugged her tight. "You gave me everything. This is the least I can do." The day they moved in, Zion ran up and down the stairs with joy. Now in SS3, he was taller, stronger, and always curious. Ada surprised him later that evening with a car key, a small but sturdy car of his own. His jaw dropped. "Mummy, for me? You're growing into a man," Ada said, smiling. "And a man needs to move responsibly." Zion hugged her tight. "I'll make you proud." "You already do." A few weeks later, Ada visited Kayamika. She had booked a quiet table at their old spot, the roadside eatery where they used to split bowls of akpa and zobo. "I have something for you," Ada said, sliding an envelope across. Kayamika opened it and nearly dropped it. "And 50 million? For all the times you stood by me," Ada said. "You saw something in me when others saw shame." Kayamika tried to speak, but words failed. They sat in silence, holding hands. A friendship that money couldn't buy, but loyalty could reward. That night, Ada stood on the balcony of the mansion. The stars were bright. The air was quiet. Michael joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Do you ever sit and realize what you've done?" he asked. Ada smiled softly. "Sometimes I still feel like that girl with dust on her feet and tears in her eyes." "But you're more," he said. And deep down, she knew, not because of the money or the buildings or the titles, but because she turned pain into purpose and purpose into power. Final chapter. Forever begins in white. The wedding wasn't loud. It wasn't big. It was beautiful. A garden ceremony under silk tents. A choir singing softly. The smell of jasmine in the air. Just close friends, family, and those who had walked the road with them. Ada wore a simple white dress. No diamonds, no crown, just her natural hair tied in a bun and joy in her eyes. Michael stood at the altar, calm, handsome, waiting. Zion walked her down the aisle. Every step reminded her of the journey, the rejection, the baby, the nights of hunger, the betrayal, the triumphs. When she reached Michael, she squeezed his hand. "I never thought I'd get here," she whispered. "You didn't get here," he replied. "You built it." Vows were said, tears were shed, laughter echoed. They danced as husband and wife beneath the moonlight. And when Ada gave her speech, she didn't talk about the empire or the money. She said, "They said my life was over when I got pregnant at 16. But standing here with my son, my husband, my family, I know now my life was only beginning." The crowd clapped. Mama wiped her eyes. And somewhere in the distance, a little girl heard that speech and believed she too could rise, because Ada had walked that road first, and she never looked back.